All right, this is lab 1 of our virtual labs. And this is the very first one in the packet that I gave you for Unit 7, and it's entitled Energy and Chemical Flame Tests. If you haven't already, make sure you read the introductory paragraph and answer your pre-lab questions before we start here. So if you haven't done that yet, pause this, go do it, and then come back. So what we're doing is we are going to be burning things. Actually, I'm going to be burning things in the seclusion of C201. And then we're going to, you're going to write down what you see, what your observations are, and then we're going to see if we can assess which one of these metals might have the most energetic electrons, because we're, in the last talk that we talked about, electrons, when they absorb a certain amount of energy, a photon of energy, if it's the right one, it'll jump up a level, and then in order to restate itself at a lower energy, it will drop back down. And in order to do that, it has to release energy. So here is our first go. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just burn a soaked wood splint, because all of these salts are soaked on a wood splint, just a plain old wood splint. So we need to kind of just know what the background, almost the background flame looks like if it's just a wet wood splint. And then we can compare the rest of our colors to that. So we're gonna just color, so your background is just kind of a, you know, what you would think of as a wood flame. Okay, so that's your background. So anytime it looks like that, you can just assume that that is just the wood splint and nothing else. So now we're going to start a series of splints that have been soaked in one ion or another. Now I'm going to do sodium last, and I think you'll probably see the reason why for that later, but I'm going to do that last. So I'm actually going to, even though the table, data table says sodium first, I'm going to do that one last. So we're going to start with calcium. All right, I've cut all the lights because I think it'll be easier. So here is burn 2, calcium. Hopefully you can see that there's kind of more of a red orange burn from that than the normal flame. Here's burn number 3, barium. Maybe you can see it's a little bit different in the fact that it's yellowish, but it's almost a kind of a green tint to it, green gold. Time for strontium, burn number 4. Hopefully you can see it's kind of a more of a red-orange tint. All right, here's the 5th one, lithium ion. It's a +1. Ooh, hopefully you can see how kind of like it's almost a magenta fuchsia red that comes out with lithium. It's really, really pretty. All right, here's burn number 6, which is copper. So hopefully it's coming through that it's a green, a real pretty green color for St. Patrick's Day, I guess, or it's just copper and it's green. Okay, here's number 7, potassium. And now potassium I'm going to do twice, once by itself, and then I'm going to put a piece of cobalt glass, which will essentially, if you put up something purple, it'll absorb all the yellow color. We're going to do that for both potassium and sodium. So here's potassium. So it's kind of a pinkish orange. kind of doesn't come through all that well on the video, but it is kind of a pinkish orange, maybe a smidge of lavender, but mainly pinky in color. Okay, but now I'm going to do it with a cobalt glass, and we're going to see if that makes a difference on how we can see the color, because the cobalt glass, because it's purple, will actually absorb any of the yellow coming through from the flame, hopefully till then we can actually see a little bit more. So if it's going to get kind of dark here, okay, that's where the cobalt glass is in the way. And now here's potassium again. I don't know what you can see. You can kind of maybe, through the view, it kind of looks more purpley than anything. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for sodium. Okay, here is sodium. First time without cobalt glass, and then I'll add the cobalt glass. So here is sodium. Whoa. Now you can see why I did this last. It is so bright that sodium kind of sometimes overpowers. Even if I just have a touch of it on my tweezers, it will come through. So that's what this bright orange light is, sodium. But now I'm going to take the cobalt glass. So again, we're going to turn everything that color and try to think of how this compares to potassium. Kind of like the light is a bit more, you can kind of tell it's not as deep purple as the original was. It's kind of more of a neon kind of like purple with the cobalt glass. But okay, so those are all of the samples. You now have those written down in your lab, and then you should be able to start answering the lab questions. Now all of this has to do with the amount of energy in electrons. So you need to think about, when you're looking at the visible spectrum, which side of the spectrum is more energetic? Is it the red side or is it the violet side? Okay. Good luck on your lab questions.